Okay, everybody. Thanks again for participating in State of Play 2013. Okay, Mark Morris from Inversion software.
Presentations, some of them absolutely blew my mind, continue blowing my mind. Just a quick show of hands who've been sat in this room for 3 hours, it's quite hot. How many people have heard of Introversion? Give me a few. Oh, that's good, isn't it? How many people have played Uplink? Darwinia? Yeah, DEFCON? Multiwinia? There you go, these are the people that bought Multiwinia. Prison Architect? Oh, I can do some sales tonight. Brilliant. So, it's interesting listening to people talk tonight, and sort of, I've given this talk quite a few times. It's just really going to go over the history of introversion and where we started and how things have changed. We started back in 2001. And my aim back then seemed quite similar to some of the people that have stood up tonight in terms of getting some finance and getting a team and getting an office and growing the business and doing all those good things that we're kind of told at business school we need to do. But we did all that and it completely didn't work and we got a bit miserable. And now we're back to a very, very small team. It's pretty much just the 4 directors up there. My dad's down there looking like some kind of evil godfather. He still ships the units. There are still people in the world that want physical copies of our stuff, so he licks the stamps every day. But it is just the 4 of us, and we all work from home, and we don't see each other very often. We see each other about once a month. So we've really gone back to that kind of indie, small, very small scale, but it's working for us. So I think, I don't want to stand here and sort of dispatch advice all night, but you know, don't worry about working your pants. Do what Owen says, just make the games you love. That's the back catalogue, you all know about that. So let's talk about Uplink, if I can get my mouse. So Uplink is all about computer hacking. Chris made this game back in 2001 when he was at university. I was at university with Chris, with Tom and Johnny. And Chris just made this game in his spare time. There wasn't really any indie game scene in 2001. All there was huge publishers ruining the industry. And Chris kind of made this game, and he said to me, mate, I've made a game, you know, and we sort of looked at it and thought, yeah, that's pretty good. And there was a competition at the time that Imperial, our university, was running, to basically give about £10,000 to any student that could put together a business plan for a company. So we put together a business plan to start taking money from the internet through something called WorldPay, which I think is still going, and sending out physical CDs all around the world. We sold about, I don't know, 5 copies on the first day, then 10 on the second, then 30, then 50. So that kind of viral thing that maybe exists now, maybe didn't, we kind of keyed into. And I think partly because there was no game like Uplink. There were lots of people that wanted to be hackers, but they had no way to kind of fulfill that kind of vision. That's what it looked like to start off with. It looked 3D, very kind of necromancer, neuromancer, you know, that kind of thing. That's influenced DEFCON map up in the top right-hand corner. We didn't know that at the time, but it turned into it. Ultimately, Uplink became 2D, and there's a picture of Chris and me. That was after our first kind of proper production run. So before digital distribution, we had to get people. We were printing the CDs first, and and it was funny. We used to run out of ink all the time. And then we finally had enough money to order like the bulk. I think we ordered 3,000 units or something. So this is what went right. I'm not going to go through all of this because it's a bit old now. What went wrong? This is probably the more important things. We lost 50 grand when a company called Strategy First went under in the States. 50 grand is an awful lot of money to 4 people that are trying to run a business. And I think that kind of, for us, really cemented our idea that we're going to do everything on the Introversion website first, and we're going to control the route to market, have a complete control of selling all of our games and taking the money that's going into our bank account first. And that's a rule that we've never broken. And when we were looking at the sales slide before, which is conveniently still up here, I know it's a different one, but you know, showing sort of what, 4.5K through your website, something like that. You were saying, yeah. That's not bad. It's not bad at all, and it will continue, and you'll get more and more. And if you are going to sell games, don't go for a publisher at all, whether. We wasted 25 grand on adverts. That's us on the tube in London. This thing is huge, it's bigger than this wall. Anyway, that's just a stupid ego trip that we went on. And then we went to E3 and we had another stupid ego trip when we were sailing boats and driving past cars. So yeah, like, if you do make a bit of money, don't spend it all at once. This is Darwinia. You know, 2005, right? Uplink came out in 2001, so it's a long old time. Darwinia is a strange beast, really. I mean, when we were at the conferences, at the shows with Darwinia on the stand, we used to people would come over and say, "Can I play your game?" And we'd sort of have to be like, "Yeah, you can, but we kind of need to give you a half-an-hour briefing beforehand on how this game is going to work." And I think that's part of the reason why Darwinia never really sold many units, and we didn't make a lot of money from it. But what it did do is it was a very unique and strange game, and I think it touched the hearts of critics and other indie game developers that really enjoy gaming. So there's a sort of soft spot in our heart for Darwinia, but I'll show you a video later that's going to change that a bit. I haven't got any time, so you're going to have to look at these early slides. This is what it looked like to begin with. This is all cool, isn't it? Look at this, 15 months, 19 months, 31 months. Took too long, took 3 years, ran out of money. So I'm having to go really quick. Right. So, are any of these things still relevant? Yeah, this is still relevant. Content is bad, not necessarily bad, but be a bit careful about how much content you're going to put in. If you need to rush something out there, then I think for us it took us something like 4 or 5 months per Darwinia level. So toward the end of it, when we were really kind of out of money, we didn't have anywhere to go, having to spend 4 or 5 months to just put the next bit into the game wasn't going to work. So still today, I think we tend to avoid that, but we've broken that rule in Prison Architect, so I need to change these slides. Poor demo, yeah, we completely fucked that up. We just put the first 3 levels of Darwinia, and if you played the first 3 levels of Darwinia, you'll realise they're like the most tedious and boring kind of time that you could ever spend. So in the future, we tried to make the demos the most exciting parts of the game, and I had an argument with Chris once. Chris does all of our programming, creative stuff, and I do all our evil sales stuff. And I said that we should do stuff in the demo that wasn't even in the game, because the game didn't even matter, because people would just play the demo. I didn't really mean it. Initially overpriced, look at that, $29.99. And what have we just done? We've just released Prison Architect for $30, because we still agreed with this kind of race to zero argument and decided that we were going to draw a line in the sand and say, no, we're not going to allow this to happen, and actually kind of lucked out. And I'll talk about Prison Architect and how well it's doing a bit later on. What went right? This was a fantastic night. This was us at the IGF Awards. I was very nasty to publishers on stage that night, and I used a rude word, and people jumped up and clapped and cheered, and it was amazing. I felt like a rock star. So, you know, in terms of giving you advice, win the IGF, and we're doing exactly. Right, what went right with Darwinia? 90% of views, I sort of talked about that before. This comes back to what Owen was saying about make games that you love. Even though it was hard, it was a labour of passion, and we're really proud of it, and I think that really shows through. We did the deal with Steam, which obviously now, you know, you've got to have a deal with Steam set up. Strong brand, a little Darwinian, global retail. I told you that our sort of attempts to break into the US kind of failed with Uplink, but we nailed it second time round. We got an XBLA deal, and this time we could afford the smart and posh cars that we hired when we went to GDC. That's Tom. Haven't got time to show you that. That's a bit from DEF CON, unless you want to see it. Yeah. 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 Okay.
General DBS is tracking rapid inbound Soviet ICBMs.
How many of you have seen War Games? How many haven't? I know what you're doing tomorrow, you're watching War Games. Chris watched War Games, thought, why has nobody ever made a game about global thermonuclear war? That's a light topic, I'll make a game. Not only that, I'm going to make a game in 24 hours, because he'd watched 24 with Jack Bauer and he thought Jack Bauer I do 24 hours, this is what he managed, right? He came to me and he said, Mark, no more 3-year game projects, 24 hours, right? At the end of 24 hours, it looks a bit like DEF CON. He's nicked the map from Uplink and he's got some red dots up there, right? Day 3, he decides at the end of day 1, no Mark, I'm going to make a game in 7 days. That's still pretty awesome. Yes, it is, mate, make a game in 7 days. This is what he does in 3 days, looking good. We've got some NATO symbology up there, we've got some, you know, Roma, Cairo, we've got some locations looking like a game. Day 7, look at that, he's done it! If anyone knows DEF CON, that looks exactly what DEF CON looks like. So he made this game in 7 days. He said, oh mate, I've just got a couple more tweaks to do, and then we can release it. 357 days later, the man's finished DEF CON. Brilliant. I shouldn't be too proud because it is a great game. I'm not going to show you the video of DEF CON because DEF CON's slow, and it's not boring, but it's just slow. What went wrong for us? Well, DEF CON really did, it sold a lot quite early on, and we weren't expecting that. So these are all the days before kind of AWS and Amazon and scalability, and we sort of touched on that a little bit tonight, so all of our service fell down. But I think one of the lessons in the games industry, it was explained to me once, is you're like putting coins into a slot machine, right? And you put it in the slot machine and you're hoping desperately that one time you're going to hit the jackpot. Now the problem is, if you hit the jackpot and you're not ready for it, all of your 8 years of suffering and, you know, eating water and cheese and sleeping with the dog and whatever aren't going to be worth anything because you just lost all the money that you would have made when you had your hit. So yeah, try and make sure that everything's nice and scalable. Right, what went right? Nothing went right. There we go. That's journalism at its finest. Right, what else went right? There we go. 30,000 sales in month 1. We had a great party in the War Office in London. It took a year, and we were getting sort of 85 reviews. Now, Multiwinia. I'll talk about Multiwinia. I want to show you this video. Anyone seen this video before? So, Multiwinia was the sequel to Darwinia. We had enough of Darwinia when we made this video. I'll explain to you why. When we were at the IGF Awards, Microsoft came to us and said, we want to take Darwinia and put it on the Xbox 360. We thought, oh, that'll take about 6 months, and that sounds like a good thing to do. Microsoft went, yeah, we kind of want a bit of multiplayer in there. So we said, all right, that'll probably take about 9 months. So we went back and we made a multiplayer component of Darwinia, which we called Multiwinia. We then sold Multiwinia on PC, and well, you saw like 5 people over there bought it. So it almost crippled the company, not quite. We were in a lot of trouble at this point, staring into the darkness. That's Chris. That's what he does. So we released Multiwinia. It didn't do very well. We continued and we worked on Multiwinia and Darwinia Plus. And we released Darwinia and Multiwinia in a wonderful all-singing, all-dancing package called Darwinia Plus on the Xbox 360, right? Look at this cut. Isn't that great cinematography? He missed. That's why we had to so we knew that we had to make about $30,000 or 30,000 sales of Darwinia Plus on Xbox Live Arcade. Sold about 5 copies. So I went out and got very drunk, and I told some mates of mine, and they thought it was hilariously funny that my business had failed, and they nicknamed me failed entrepreneur Mark Morris, and that's how they introduced me to a lot of people to try and find this, but which didn't work out. So the next day, I had to fire everybody, so I sacked everybody in the company. Johnny left and went to work for Google, and Chris tried to go and get a job in Cambridge working for some of the kind of mainstream video games companies, but nobody would employ him because he was Chris. So you know, they were a bit scared of him, I think. Tom left and started something else up, and I tried to get jobs, but I'm unemployable as well. So Chris and I, that's the end of the story. This bit doesn't work either. just fucking went out. Anyway, so what happened for us then? We genuinely thought that that was the end of Introversion. Our kind of 10-year project was over and we were done and dusted. And Chris went off to Alcatraz. He went on holiday. Well, he went on holiday to San Francisco actually, and happened to go to Alcatraz. And when he was in Alcatraz, he came up with the idea of producing a game which was all about building and managing a maximum security prison. There's another project called Subversion that I haven't got time to go into, but a lot of the technology came from Subversion. So about this kind of time, do I need to explain prison architecture? Have you got it? Build and manage a prison, right? Pretty straightforward. You can see they're building a prison right now. Prisoners are going to come in fairly soon. If the prisoners don't have somewhere to go, they'll escape, so you need to bring a holding cell. Then they're going to need to be washed, so you need to build some showers, you're going to need power in there, you need to do the whole thing. And as we continue to develop prison architect, we're putting more and more depth and detail into it. But we had to really think about how we were going to launch it, because we'd had this hiatus, we'd not done anything, but we didn't have any baggage either. There weren't 8 mouths to feed, there weren't lots of people, there were just really me and Chris. And Kickstarter had kind of started, and there'd been some like really high profile success stories. And but we didn't know, firstly we didn't know how much money to ask for, because we could kind of cut our cloth really, there were only 2 guys. And secondly, we didn't really know how long to limit the Kickstarter campaign for, because it says, you know, what do you want to run it for? 2 weeks, 1 week, a month? You know, we didn't know. So we thought, what we'll do is we'll steal the Kickstarter concept and just completely replicate it on our website and just run it like a never-ending Kickstarter campaign. So we came up with a few tiers, we priced them. We were a bit scared, and Chris and I had a conversation about how much we expected to make. Sorry, I should have said we've been working on Prison Architect for about a year, and we're going to enter it into the IGF. So we did have a reasonably strong kind of early build that we were going to give people access to immediately. And we decided that we basically, in the first 24 hours, wanted to do about 100 units, which would have been 30 grand or something like that. Within sort of the first kind of month or so, you know, that would probably be about right. Anyway, we smashed through it and did about 100 grand in 3 days. So we really felt that we had been given a kind of mandate, if you like, by the indie community to continue with this project. So that's what we've been doing. We released it in September 2012, I think, and we've put out an update a month to the alpha process. We've had various discounts and Steam deals where we've brought in new customers. We've done a humble bundle with it. And just to sort of, you know, this wasn't planned, but in terms of like the last sales graphs that you saw, the latest figure for Prison Architect, as of about 5 minutes ago, was 270,823 units, which equates to 8,648,000. I'll be buying the beers, right? So the reason we've actually got all of our sales figures up on the website. So if you go to prison-architect.com, you can see the tiers and you can see how well they've sold. And we did that right from the start because we really want to allow other indies to look at what we've been doing and hopefully learn from that and say, actually, I'm going to price it at a similar point, or I'm going to set similar tiers because Introversion did it and it's not a market problem, you know, if it doesn't work out. Anyway, that's all from me. Thank you very much. See you.